today's topic is encounters design. So, what Blizzard said in Warlords of Dreanor, they're gonna focus on changing how the encounters work. So melee will be less punished than the ranged, and ranged will have a nerfed movement. And if we're gonna go back in time to pre-Cataclysm time, they said almost the same about healing, because they were unhappy with healing. Basically, in Wrath of the Lich King, every heal was topping the tank to the max, so every hit on a tank was almost killing him by a boss in hard mode. So this led to encounter design where one flaw could lead to a wipe. What this ended up is druid HOTS like rejuvenation were like ticking for like half of your HP. And basically you were like spamming, because endless mana, you were spamming HOTS on everybody, everyone was spamming HOTS on everyone, and AoE heals. So it was very intensive fights and very gear was required to actually complete it. While today and in Cataclysm they said, okay, we don't like this, we're gonna change this. And how they changed this is mana started to be a problem on the healers, health pools are bigger, but in the end, when we saw the transition between ICC and first raid content in Cataclysm, we saw that the encounters designs are exactly the same, and that was kind of problem, I think, because when the changes in the mechanics don't accompany changes in the encounters design, it's kind of scary. So we saw the scaling between 10 and 25, and many guilds, mine also, created a smaller guild with 10 people, and on normals it was okay, but when the heroic race started, we had problems on some bosses, like half was heroic. We were super lucky because we had like dozens of interrupters, and in my guild everyone always interrupts because they just like to do it. Well, actually I like to do it. But for example, later on the council we had like insane problems, yeah, and that's just like third boss or second. No, yeah, that's the third boss after this one. So it was again a problem, yeah. Just a matter of lucky drops, which should not be part of the game, really. So what's next? Next on the list, on my list to talk about encounters design, is melee versus ranged. So previously in Wrath of the Lich King, melee were doing insane DPS, they were required to do movement and stuff, but now actually ranged classes are doing more DPS, they're better in doing encounters design, and they have more movement, and they can do more mistakes, because if melee will do a mistake or go under the cleave, they just die. While range has a time to react, tank has time to react, so there is no point in taking melee DPSers, even because Hunter has like an interrupt on exactly the same cooldown, 15 seconds, as melee DPSers, so it's just better to take two Hunters instead of like a Roach and I don't know, Feral Druid. And that's a problem. Well, on some of the encounters, the Hunters will even do more DPS, which is strange. So I saw that Roaches got another role, and on heroics they are doing like more dangerous assignments, like killing engineers and stuff like this. But this is just because of the class mechanics. If you're gonna look at the, for example, Feral Druids, they are not the top now in the demand. Yeah, obviously guilds will have to take warriors and Feral Druids to some extent, because there's just not enough people to play with at the high-end level. But that's the problem. So what's the general idea? The general idea is that if melee DPS has to move, he loses DPS. Most likely he's gonna be losing DPS. If ranged class has to move to, like, for example, Malkorok to a pool, they're probably not gonna lose almost any DPS. And that's a massive problem. And even between the range, the difference between the classes that can move and not is insane. While Hunter has like insane options to move with disengage, with like running and like casting on running, to, for example, Shadow Priest, who's like retarded a bit in terms of movement, yeah. So actually Shadow Priest is gonna lose DPS, but Shadow Priest is doing so little DPS that nobody's gonna care, because nobody is gonna take Shadow Priest to a ride anyway. Unless it's some pretty awesome Shadow Priest and on a fight that is designed for Shadow Priests. But for example, if we're gonna talk about Affliction Warlocks, yeah, and if you're talking about dot snapshotting, when the guy is gonna soul burn, soul swap, put everything on with the trinket procs, he can actually move a lot, because that's the time when he's not gonna add a lot DPS, because he has the insane dots on the target, so he's not gonna add a lot of DPS, so he can do other stuff, yeah, for like few seconds. So I don't think in Warlords of Dreanor we're gonna see a drastic encounter design change. I think they're gonna be designed almost exactly like in Mists of Pandaria, and designs in Mists of Pandaria are pretty much preferring range, and that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna stay with this trend of preferring range, in my opinion, for Warlords of Dreanor, and a Hunter will be a must-have in every raid. Even if it's gonna do a sucky DPS and they're gonna cut movement on all of the ranges, still they're gonna leave super good capabilities of movement on Hunter. So what do you think, guys?